This is Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Today's show sponsored by Mint Mobile. You may have heard of them before. It's a cell phone company owned by the famous actor Ryan Reynolds. Plans starting as low as $15 per month on America's largest 5G network. Going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. We'll tell you more about Mint Mobile coming up around the corner. Here's what we have coming your way on today's show. We're locked and loaded with another good one, Philly. Matisse Thybulle contract extension latest. Also, is Philadelphia still trying to trade him? James Harden gets real in an exclusive interview with Chris Haynes, speaking about why he took less money to return back to Philadelphia because he's chasing a championship, something that he doesn't have on the resume. And also, fan photos from our subscribers that you sent me. This is why you subscribe to Philadelphia 76ers Now, because we involve you in all of our shows. Some people hit me up with pictures of them rocking Sixers gear. We'll give them shout-outs later on today's show. We start off with Matisse Thybulle. Here's the latest on Thybulle. According to Bleacher Report, Sixers have really tried to trade him all offseason. They've been engaged in some trade discussions with other teams across the NBA, and as of now, with these contract extension talks looming, no extension talks have occurred just yet. Now, when it comes down to Matisse Thybulle, he's a good player, but he does have some demons and he does have some weaknesses. Now, so far throughout his NBA career, he's been a really solid player. Pros and cons for him: two-time All-NBA defender in 3 years. That's something that you write home about, right? That's really impressive. He's a pest against some of the top wings in the NBA, but he also has some downfalls, and he also has some negative elements to his game. Because while he's developed into one of the league's best defensive players, he has failed to develop on the offensive end of the floor. And the shortcomings there are problematic in a playoff series. Was played off the floor in the playoffs against the Miami Heat. His three-point shooting splits are just entirely weird. This is year by year in all 3 seasons of his NBA career. Nearly 36% coming out of Washington. Year 2, 30% in a year which shooting percentages skyrocketed across the NBA because teams were playing in front of empty arenas. And then last year, not much better at 31 plus. The free throw splits also don't make a lot of sense either. They have really fluctuated throughout his NBA career. And when I look at a guy who I'm like, okay, can he become a good shooter over time? I look at the free throw percentages to see if he at least has a clean stroke and he's confident when he tiptoes the free throw line. From a Thybulle, hasn't happened yet. Now, his numbers last year, really just okay. 6 points per game, nearly 50% from the field. But you look at the three-point numbers there, not good enough. What is good, his defensive ability, playing passing lanes, blocking shots. He has that innate ability to block shots from behind when offensive players are able to get by him, nearly 2 steals per game and a block per night. So he certainly has some value on the Sixers. He has value in the NBA, but can you imagine how good he can be if he can become a better three-point shooter? So with that, I want to ask you this, and I want to field all of your responses in the comment section right now. Is Thybulle a valuable piece on the Sixers? Type V for valuable, L for liability. He's been valuable in moments. He's also been a liability at times too. Let me know right now in the comment section. Now, this report coming from Jake Fischer of Bleacher Report about these contract extension talks, or lack thereof. The Sixers actively explored the trade market for Matisse Thybulle this summer. Quite the important context for the third-year forward's extension discussions. While Thybulle guards at an all-defensive caliber, his lack of consistent shooting has provided problems for Philadelphia's lineups around Joel Embiid. Plus, the Sixers just added P.J. Tucker, Danuel House Jr. to further their two-way depth on the wing and in the front court. There hasn't been traction on extension conversations with Thybulle yet. Most extension dialogues don't begin in earnest until summer approaches fall, but Thybulle may be the perfect case to buck the league's recent trend of growing extension numbers. If the current trade market is an early indication of next summer's free agency, Thybulles Value could struggle to recover from a poor postseason showing, with his vaccination status further complicating matters. Honestly, who cares at this point? Perhaps there's room for Thybulle to bet on himself in hopes of landing a richer deal next offseason. That's what he might have to do. you want so badly for Thybulle to work because when he's playing well, when he's knocking down shots, he looks to be a great player as a former first-round pick and a developmental project for Philadelphia. Then when the playoff time comes around, you're like, my goodness, you can't even have him on the floor because teams aren't even guarding him along the three-point perimeter. And while the defense is great at the end of games, he's not really in the lineup, right? He's not on the floor because offensively he can't do anything, and you're going up against teams 4 versus 5 on the offensive end of the floor. So let's hope that Thybulle has been living in the gym. He sometimes has that weird side rotation to his three-point shot, and the mechanics are a little bit clunky. Get with the shot doctor. Let's hope that Thybulle can figure it out because he does have value. But at the same time, P.J. Tucker, Danuel House, D'Anthony Melton, all good defensive players who the Sixers have brought in throughout this offseason. If you were to pay Thybulle a contract extension, how much would you pay him on an average annual value basis? Let me know right now in the comment section. You're in the shoes of Daryl Morey. Let me know right now. As I mentioned off the top, today's show sponsored by Mint Mobile, living on America's largest 5G network. And what's really cool, if you switch over to Mint Mobile, not only do these plans start as low as $15 per month, but you don't have to change your phone and you don't have to change your phone number, and your service will switch seamlessly between 5G and 4G LTE, whichever is strongest depending on where you are. You can also use your data however you like, even where coffee shops don't exist. And your mom and dad, they're going to be asking you, hey, why are you hitting me up so much? It's because unlimited talk and text as well. mintmobile.com/chatsports. I'm going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video so that you can get hooked up for these cell phone plans as low as $15 per month on America's largest 5G network. It honestly is an incredible deal when a lot of people are trying to save money during this period of inflation. We shift from Matisse Thybulle to James Harden, and he got honest, he got real, and honestly, he's been pretty self-aware. A guy who, in years previous, has not been the most self-aware basketball player. Did an exclusive sit-down interview with Chris Haynes and said a lot of interesting things. Now, when he signed that contract extension of 2 years for $32.6 million with that player option for 2023-2024, a lot of people were asking, Harden, why the pay cut? Opted out of that player option of $47.1 million, which allowed him to become a free agent. And we knew that he was going to come back to Philadelphia. But how much was it going to be worth, and how much was that contract going to be? Here's what he had to say about that contract extension with Philly. I had conversations with Daryl Morey, and it was explained how we could get better and what the market value was for certain players. I told Daryl to improve the roster, sign who we needed to sign, and give me whatever is left over. This is how bad I want to win. I want to compete for a championship. That's all that matters to me at this stage. I'm willing to take less to put us in a position to accomplish all of that. And this is kind of a joke, but Michael Rubin, who had to step aside as a part-time owner and partial owner of this ownership group with Philadelphia because he felt as though there were conflictions because Fanatics is trying to get into sports gambling, and that's why he stepped aside as a partial owner of Philadelphia. A lot of people were saying, so he takes a $15 million pay cut. Rubin was involved in these contract negotiation talks. Is he getting paid Fanatic stock to make up for that? Who cares? Just allow it, right? Who cares if Michael Rubin is paying James Harden in Fanatic stock? It helped Philadelphia and Daryl Morey build out the rest of this roster. More from Harden on his new contract. I don't really listen to what people are saying. I wasn't right last year, and I still almost average a triple-double. If anyone else had those numbers, we'd be talking about them getting a max contract, right? People were used to seeing me average 40, 30 points, and so they viewed it as a down year. I was in Philadelphia for only a couple of months, and I had to learn on the fly. That's just what it is. I'm in a good space physically and mentally right now, and I'm just looking forward to next year. So that's what James Harden had to say about that contract. And he can afford to take a pay cut. Why? You look at the estimated earnings throughout his NBA career right below me, nearly $270 million. That's just an NBA contract. So he's living lavish, he's living the good life, and that is not including sponsorship deals as well as his Adidas contract, which is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million plus. Now, he's taking less money because he's trying to chase a championship with the 76ers after that trade deadline acquisition that sent Ben Simmons to Brooklyn and Harden down I-95 south to Philadelphia. And you look at his accolades here. He literally is one of the best players of all time, especially on the offensive end of the floor. But what is missing for the beard? It's a ring. And that missing on his resume is a big reason why he is considered to be one of the greats of all time, but he enters into a different stratosphere if he just wins a championship team, or if he just wins an NBA championship. Because up to this point, Harden, 2018 MVP, 10-time NBA All-Star, 6-time first-team All-NBA guy, 3-time scoring champ, does not have that ring, and in the playoffs, sometimes he's come up short. But at this point of his career, and he talked about him not being right last year, he can afford to not be the guy who's averaging 30 to 40 points per night. Why is that? Because this Sixers starting five and the Sixers roster is a pretty solid unit. And I thought producer Seeps made some good points. Like, you look at the Sixers starting five right here, everybody outside of P.J. Tucker, who's brought in for toughness, to be a dog, to defend, is averaging more than 15 points per game. So Harden on some nights, yeah, he'll be asked if Joel Embiid is out or if other guys are having an off night to put up 25, 30 points. And he's still capable of doing that on some nights, but you don't want him doing that consistently, nor do I think he's that guy any longer. But that's okay when you have a complimentary cast of the emerging Tyrese Maxey, the MVP caliber player that is Joel Embiid, who was dancing at that wedding over the weekend in some viral social media clips. You got to love it. And then Tobias Harris as well, who is an underrated defensive player who's also pretty solid offensively too. So Harden fits well on this roster. You have some shooters around him, so the lineup makes a lot of seamless sense. And if he's right, and if he's being honest about him not being right last year, if he's able to get into shape, shed some pounds, and really work on his overall craft, then Harden can have a rebound season after what was somewhat of a down season for his standards last year, and a down year for him, nearly averaging a triple-double on a nightly basis. So you just took a look at the Sixers starting five. Where do you think that lineup ranks among starting lineups in the NBA? 30 teams in the NBA, so rank Philly from 1 to 30. On last week's show, I had said to all of our loyal subscribers, send me pictures of you rocking some Sixers gear. We'll put you on the show. A couple of people did that. And if you want to do that, you can as well. We'll tell you more about that coming up in just a few moments. Chic of Geek rocking the Sixers hat right here. And then Iron Mizzle, this magazine cover of Allen Iverson on Slam from back in the day, rocking those Sixers uniforms that might come back into the equation. Looking really good, Iron Mizzle, swagged up and swagged out. If you want to send me pictures of you rocking Sixers gear to be to appear on the show, you can do so. You see my Twitter handle down below as well as my IG handle. It's at @Chase_Senior on both social media platforms. If you don't send me a picture, just give me a follow so that we can chop it up and you can stay in the know with everything that I'm doing here at Chat Sports, Sixers, NBA, NFL, all that and a bunch more. But I want to get your pictures featured on the show at Chase_Senior. That's why you subscribe, because we involve you in all of our shows. And as always, thanks for tuning in.